Everybody's been asking what Peter's going to do now that he's done with high school. Well, let me tell you about Sakakawea State University, the official educational choice of Secrets to Fishing TV.
How old do you have to be to go to Sakakawea State University?
Well, Cohen, I started when I was 5, and at Sakakawea State University, a lot of people have learned what it takes to stay in schools.
I learned patience and to always stay humble at Sakakawea State University.
Wait, did somebody say Sakakawea State University? Most important thing, stay in schools.
I've earned money because I learned to stay in schools.
We wouldn't be where we are today if we hadn't stayed in school.
What do I have to do to stay in schools?
All you gotta do is go to Sakakawea State University Facebook page and learn all sorts of fish facts and then go fishing.
Hi, Peter. Hey, I wish I went to Sakakawea State University.
I wish my kid would have picked Sakakawea State University.
Sakakawea State University, the official Fish Facts Facebook page and clothing line of Secrets to Fishing TV.
I invented Sakakawea State University.
As you're looking through the internet, seeing everyone else catching fish, it's easy to ask, what baits are they using? What lakes are they at? And what secrets do they have? The real secret to fishing is understanding the fish, becoming confident in tactics, and knowing where to find them. Today on this episode of Secrets to Fishing, Peter heads out to Lake Audubon to talk about building self-confidence with a new presentation while he works on fishing blade baits vertically. Then he meets up with Matt Jollymore for an introduction to fishing with lead core for walleye on Lake Mille Lacs. Finally, Peter heads back to Lake Audubon with guide Kellen Latendresse as they take advantage of fall cisco movements for a shot at catching Peter's first muskie. This episode is presented by ShopMissouriSecrets.com and North Country Marine and Motorsports. This trip to the lake is brought to you by North Country Marine and Motorsports.
Coming over this culvert, there's some pretty nice marks on the bottom, and they're suspended. When you're learning a new tactic, like I am right now with these blade baits, one thing that's important is to fish a location that you're confident in. That's why we're fishing this specific spot, is every year during this time, I know I can come here and catch fish with your traditional jigs and minnows or Lindy rigs. So having the confidence in your location makes it a whole lot easier to concentrate on your new presentation you're learning, so you don't need to worry about, am I even going to catch fish? There's a nice mark right there. Let's hope we get this one. You know, one of the troubles with fishing blade baits is getting all tangled up. Now, one of the ways you can help prevent this and keep it from happening as often, so unlike a jig and wrap, when you want to let the line free fall and let your bait go down with ease, you got to keep these on a tight line and help it down to the bottom, because when you just let them fall, they fall straight in line with your line, and that's what gets them all tangled up and keeps you from catching fish. Yeah, see if this one will work. Now, one thing that's important is, what I like to do is play around with different sizes and colors. For about 5-10 minutes, I give each size and color the opportunity to try and catch fish, and if nothing's working, I change up, whether it be the size or the color, or both. One of the secrets to fishing is the key to success is failure. You'll never gain confidence in a presentation until you try and fail and fail. You know, and after a few hours, like we've been out here for a good hour and a half, 2 hours trying these blade baits, and I haven't gotten a bite or a fish on them yet. So if you do get discouraged, go and try something else you're comfortable with and confident with. Like, I've got a big musky rod with a big glide bait or a chatterbait on. You can go out and try and catch a big musky. Or I've got a swim bait rigged up for some smallies and a jig in a plastic minnow for pitching to shore for some walleyes and smallmouth. So if you get discouraged, go catch fish and then come back to what you want to learn. It's not about being out for one specific thing. Dedicate your time to having fun. Just went over a bunch of really big marks here by this culvert. You know, oh, that's a nice fish. I'm gonna bring this up halfway. You know, even though you're not confident in the presentation you're using, fish in a location that you are confident at, where there are fish and that you know you can catch them. You know, that's one of the great things about spots like this, is there's numbers of fish, big fish, but you also don't know what you're going to catch. Like the lake we're on, there's walleyes, pike, musky, smallmouth, even perch. It's important to play with your color options too. I was just ripping a fire tiger blade bait, now I'm going to switch to more of a shad color. You got to play around with your options until the fish tell you what they want. Oh, here we go. Make sure he's still on. There we go. So while we're ripping blade baits and rattle baits, trying to get a reaction strike, I'm also dragging a big lindy with the creek chub on behind the boat. Oh, for a dead stick presentation. That's a nice size eater walleye. How fun is that? Remember, it's okay to have one presentation that you're comfortable with while you're learning a new one, like a lindy rig on a long leader with a creek chub. That's a really nice size eater. We're gonna throw him in the live load. Take him home. And again, you never know what you're gonna catch, but you'll have a good time. And another big thing mentally is don't get discouraged. I mean, we've been out here for a good hour and a half, 2 hours trying this, and we've only had a bite on a creek chub behind a lindy rig. So just keep trying and have confidence that you will catch fish. You know, what's important when you're learning a new technique is to play around with different lure options, but also play around with your different reel, line, and rod options. You know, I was just using bait casting rod, medium heavy 7 foot with 20-pound braid. So I'm gonna switch this over and start throwing a rattling bait like this Rapple or Rip and Wrap on a medium power spinning rod with 15-pound braid. So play with your different options and see what best suits you and what you're more comfortable with. And with your lure options, keep changing up until the fish tell you what they want. Well, we caught some fish today, but on a lindy rig with the creek chub and not any of these blade baits. That's what it's all about. You're not going to succeed with a new tactic every time you try it out on the water. You're going to fail and fail, and when you catch a fish, you're going to succeed and try again. Just because we didn't catch any fish on this though, doesn't mean I can't go out for some muskies. One constant problem that all anglers have, especially when fishing with braid, is getting a good clean cut so you can rig up with ease. I had the same problem until I found the Boomerang Tool Company Line Cutter Series, and here's why I like them. It doesn't matter how big, or more importantly, how small the line is that you're cutting, these things simply cut. Let's give them a try. First, we're going to take a look at Berkley 8-pound XT. 50-pound nylon tip-up line, 50-pound Power Pro, And finally, 6-pound Fireline Crystal. Not only do these things cut with ease, they leave a good clean end so you don't have to struggle when you're tying up. Another thing we like about the snips is we've been using them for 2 years and they still get the job done. And finally, they have a 36-inch retractable tether that you can clip onto your tackle bags or your winter ice gear so you don't lose them. So when you see these snips in your local bait shop or online, it's worth giving them a try.
This Lake Mille Lacs adventure is brought to you by 241 Inc. Productions. See it, hear it, experience it.
So Matt, you see a lot of these guys, especially people who fish some of the bigger walleye tournaments. A lot of people are running lead core. Why would you use lead core?
The reason I use lead core is because it's absolutely the easiest way for me to know exactly where my bait is. It's really about accuracy, and it's about a guy that, when I first started using lead core, it made a guy that didn't have the biggest spools and everything else to be able to get right to where those fish are. And for me, it's probably the most accurate method.
As a beginner lead core person, how hard is it to get into it?
I think the biggest thing about it is that once you understand that, and you look at the lead in this way, you look at the lead as the starting point for the lure. And then it becomes very easy to look at the graph and realize, okay, as long as you can divide by 7, you can use lead core, but that's the biggest thing. The biggest problem that I see that people have is when they look at lead core, they think it's complex, when really you get the precision trolling app, and that'll tell you about your leaders and how far your baits are going to drop. And beyond that, it's really comes down to simple math and just understanding that you're looking from surface down to a starting point where you want that lure. And I think that becomes very simple once you look at it that way. Fish, fish, fish! Tip always down, tip always down. And we do not stop the boat. Nope, nope. Okay, one of the things I always tell people when they're reeling these up is just relax. We take your time. We got all day to bring her in.
Oh yeah. Oh.
There we go. And that is a Mille Lacs walleye. Hey, that was a perfectly landed fish. You got the rod right over the edge so I get her on the net. We got her right up. And once again, that's lead core fishing, man.
Let's get this guy back in the water and catch another one.
Let's get her back. Okay, so one of the things that we noticed about this, remember we caught this fish on the port side of the boat, and we were actually turning port side.
So we were going too fast.
We were going too fast. So right now what we're gonna do is, I was gonna speed her back up, but because of where that fish hit, I'll leave it exactly at 1.8 because that's actually slower than what we were going, because it always slows the boat down when you turn the motor. So now I know we want to be 1.8 and not above it. And we start making a pattern. And that's the big thing, is just to pay attention to those patterns.
So when you're out lead core fishing, Matt, and you've got however many thousands of different crankbait options, what comes across your mind, or what goes through your mind when you're trying to pick out the right color, a specific wobble?
Yeah, this is probably one of the toughest things you can do, but there is some basics that you can take a look at. One of the things with color is what kind of weather you have, and more overcast, or the more overcast you are, the brighter, more flamboyant that you're going to do. This is a good example. And if you're talking about something where you got sun, you want to go with more of a natural color, like a creek chub. When it comes down to what do they want afterwards, that really comes down to experimentation. This is why anytime you're going to see me do a tournament, I am going to have all kinds of baits out, and I'm going to try a lot of different variations. Some of them have beads inside of them, some don't. You can see that's got a pretty aggressive bill on it, which is a deep diver, and this is going to have a big wobble on it, and sometimes they don't like that big wobble. And you really just need to experiment and find out exactly what kind of wobble they want. The other part is that if you do catch a fish, put that fish in a live well. Let it kind of soak a little bit and see what it might spit up. Because one of the other things about any kind of fishing is you always want to try to match the hatch. One of the easiest ways is to be very observant of your surroundings, but what a fish is eating, if you can match that, you'll catch that fish. One of the things about positioning your boat when you're seeing a fish come in is you want to position the boat so the fish goes outside of the boat. And then when the fish comes up, I'm going to ask you to walk right behind us. And what that does is that brings that fish closer into the boat so that we can get her netted. You ready? Okay, bring her up. And there we go. Lead core fishing. I mean, you want to get back in, huh?
Yep.
Yeah. All right, so now we have two different baits that are going on between the two different rods. We've caught a couple of fish on that. That tells me that we've dialed in with the color. We've definitely dialed in with the wobble. We've got our speed down. We did actually speed up. You remember that?
Yep.
Right? And so now what we'll do is we'll put that number 9 on that rod, and we're going to run at 2 different levels and see if we can't get the bigger boys.
Sweet.
Yeah, when you're running lead core, you really need to remember that, you know, like right now, we're running 3 colors and you're 90 feet behind.
Mm-hmm.
So when you start to do a corner, you've got to remember that you're 90 to 100 feet behind the boat.
Yep.
You know, so you do nice wide corners on there, and that's really where boat control is so important. Ooh, he's getting bigger. He's getting big. Look at the size of him.
That's a big fish, Matt.
Yes. Yes! That is a Mille Lacs walleye.
Oh.
All right. So this is lead core fishing at its finest, isn't it?
That's
a beautiful fish.
Look, take a look at the belly and the bottom. Look at all that.
Oh yeah, yeah. He's been fighting. And it's done.
Peter, I'm kind of confused. I don't know what oil to put in my new outboard motor.
Well, Mr. Voiceover Guy, give our friends a call at North Country Marine and Motorsports. They'll have all the answers to your questions, and they can get the stuff that you need.
Thanks, Peter. Now to today's secret. Today's secret is brought to you by Fish Stories.
You know, one of the things we find very important here at Missouri Secrets is to not steal someone's story. And when I'm talking about stealing, it's not taking someone's tackle box or their fancy reel. I'm talking about someone's fishing story. You know, it's not that hard to hear someone complaining at the boat ramp, cleaning station, or bait shop about another angler's experience. You know, us as anglers, we all need to go through the same 3 goals in order to understand selective harvest. 1, to catch fish and get comfortable with the sport and confident. 2, catch a limit of fish and build yourself up. And finally, catch bigger fish and enjoy yourself more. You don't know if that's the first time that person has ever been on the water, or if that's the first time a kid has ever caught big fish, or more importantly, if someone's out there catching enough fish to feed their family. If it's not against the law, and if they had a great time on the water, that's the only thing that matters. Instead of taking the time to rip someone apart and steal their story, take the time to celebrate it with them.
This week's Simple Trick is brought to you by American Legion Victor B. Wallen Post 12.
Whether you're swapping reels, Getting ready for a trip or getting your bait casters ready for the long winter? Let me show you how a simple spring bobber will make your life a whole lot easier. This simple little spring bobber is the key to good line management and to help you from struggling with rethreading your reels. So when you're ready to thread your rods with your new reel, the line's right here and you can get to what's important, fishing.
This muskie hunt is brought to you by Latendresse Guide Service.
Right now we're out here on Lake Audubon fishing for some muskies with Kellen from Latendresse Guide Service, and what we're doing today is we are targeting muskies with medium-sized crankbaits. So Kellen, what are some of those little subtleties that make a retrieve work?
Well, to me, a muskie's almost like a cat. It's like a cat and a mouse game. If you just retrieve the same pattern the whole time, he's going to slowly come in and follow. You know, they don't always want to eat. They act like a cat in the fact that if it's getting away, a lot of times it'll trigger them to strike, like a reaction strike. So each bait I fish different. Right now I have a Poseidon on. A lot of times my favorite baits out here, I throw a lot of phantom hexes and phantom jerkbait softtails. And the more erratic you can get that bait and get them, it's always better when you're musky fishing to get them to bite away from the boat. You know, your success will greatly increase to get them to bite away from the boat than it will next to the boat. So the more erratic, the more you change up your cadence, the more that muskie in his mind thinks that he might not get that bait, probably the better chance you have of catching him.
So, figure eight question. I see a lot of guys on, you know, on all these YouTube videos, TV shows, they'll be down here doing a figure eight, pumping the rod like crazy.
Yeah.
Is that just added action to get
added action, yeah. Figure eighting is something that you can't teach. I can't even teach by telling you. It's almost teaching you by, you got to fail, you got to see what, and each muskie, no figure eight is the same. Like every muskie is going to relate different.
So for a lot of the people who follow us, they hear us preaching about you have to listen to the fish. Now, what are some of the things that you have to listen to when you're out musky fishing?
I think today's a prime example. You know, I started off targeting shallower water, that 6 to 4 foot range, or 4 to 10 foot range actually. And I mean, you caught yours over 17 foot of water, 18 foot of water. And the one that I moved came out of like 12, 14. So now what I've done is we're on the outside of the weed edge. We're moving the boat out 30 foot past the weed edge and giving these fish that might be deeper today, you know, a shot.
What side?
Right here. Putting that in.
Woo!
Oh, actually, she's up here.
Nice.
Here, drop her back in the water so she gets breathe. Well, this is awesome. She came off in the bag. Her second one of the day, up here. Real clean fish. She's definitely active. I set the hook and she probably came out of the water, I don't know, 4 feet.
Oh yeah, easily.
Not a very big one, but definitely a clean fish. Beautiful fish. So that's fun.
Oh yeah.
2 today so far. Let's get a couple more. We'll let her go.
So what we're doing today is we're following the spawning ciscos up shallow, and what we're doing is pitching medium-sized crankbaits to the muskies that are chasing after.
Another thing is time of day too. I've had great luck in mornings here. Maybe not right at sunup, but after the sun's been out for, you know, a half hour. So mid-morning. And then, I don't know if it's not relating to Audubon, but anytime there's a storm brewing, usually the fish are chowing on this lake. So if I see rain coming or thunder coming, I'm not fishing in lightning, but before it gets here, I'm definitely casting away. Musky. Keep it line tight.
It definitely didn't hit it hard. It was just a weight thing. Oh, nice.
It's a tiger. Nice tiger.
Woo!
Atta boy.
Yeah.
Nice fish.
That's my first decent muskie I've ever caught.
And it's off in the bag.
Nice.
Awesome job, buddy.
Oh,
nice fish.
Yeah, this is my first big muskie I've caught.
Oh. Beautiful tiger, man.
Yeah.
She's clean.
Well, thank you very much, Kellen, for giving me the opportunity to catch one of these awesome fish. When you take the time to understand patterns, especially for muskies, you'll have an awesome time out on the water.
This week's Leaving Ripples is brought to you by MPR Models.
In the world of fishing, there are endless ways to learn. From books to videos, it just doesn't end. There's one way of learning that has always and will always outweigh any other. Being taught by someone else is very important to get you started with something new. But until you teach something, whatever it may be, you won't fully understand it. It's simple. Learn, teach, understand, and leave ripples.
Thank you to these great partners for making Secrets to Fishing possible.